hello! Welcome to the show. It's me, John Park, and it is time for another JP's product pick of the week. Here we are, and you may have seen it. I showed it right away. That's the URL you want to go to. You want to head right here or point a camera at that little QR code, and that's going to take you over to the product page. On the product page, you will find not only this video embedded within streaming live, but also there's going to be a big discount. In fact, let me go there right now. Let's check it out. Here's my browser. I'm going to refresh this. This was from a little bit ago. And boom, 50% off on today's product pick. But hey, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's get back with the program here for a second. And I will let Lady Ada take us through a little bit of this product pick of the week. Then I'm going to go grab one myself from the mystery cabinet of delightful drawers of wonders and do a little bit of a demo. So get ready. Here comes Lady Ada.
The prop maker wing.
Yes, let me explain what's going on here. So we had people who were making props and projects with the Feather, and it was like they always had to take a couple boards and put them together to get what they wanted done. So we looked at a lot of the projects we wanted to build. We looked at the lightsaber that we made with the FeatherWing. We thought, what would we want to add to a Feather to make it really good for making props? Now, it doesn't do everything, but it's also only like about $10. So it's like, you know, you get enough going on that you can make some cool projects, and especially keep it nice and small in Feather size. So you get an audio amplifier. So if you're using the Feather M0 or M4, we have CircuitPython has great audio support. It's really easy to play audio files, and we even have polyphonic audio coming soon, so you can have like background and foreground sounds. So this will drive a 8 ohm or 4 ohm speaker. It comes with a triple axis accelerometer. We use the LIST 3DH. Now some people are like, well, why don't you have like a 9DOF sensor with like acceleration and gyro and magnetometer? And the answer is a lot of props don't need it. The extra cost for a 9DOF sensor doesn't usually pay out because a lot of people don't have the code that can really read that 9DOF data and do something complicated with it. For a lot of props, you just want tilt or motion, or I shook it or I hit it. For those things, the accelerometer is plenty. Like if you saw with the lightsaber, you don't need a gyro or magnetometer to do the swing or the hit or like the basic motion output. So you can do that with just an accelerometer. And the LIST 3DH is a low cost but really great accelerometer, and we have tons of good support code for it. It also has a 3-watt LED driver, so you can drive RGB LEDs if you have like a really bright light you want to add. You don't have to use a 3-watt LED. You can use smaller LEDs too, but it can drive up to 3 watts with 3 powerful MOSFET transistors. It has a level shifted NeoPixel output with our joystick connection, because I know it's like a lot of times you want to be able to disconnect the LEDs from the board while you're taking it apart.
What are those holes right there?
Oh, we have breakouts for the enable pin. So, you probably have the wing in your prop and you want to bring the on-off switch outside somewhere. So we made it really easy for you to connect 2 wires to make an on-off switch. And there's also another switch input that is just easy to break out to, and you can connect a switch. And I'll show on the demo. And then another thing that it's not labeled here, but there's a power pin. So a lot of people, when they make their props, it's like, well, you want to have the accelerometer on to detect motion and read the switch, but you don't want the NeoPixels to be all lit up because they do take up a lot of quiescent current and maybe the RGB LED as well. So we have a power pin that when you activate it, it will shut off power to the NeoPixels, like that V+ pin. So it'll reduce the quiescent power, and we did some power measurements. So it just means that instead of taking up a milliamp per NeoPixel, it takes none. And the quiescent current for the whole wing is about a milliamp. You're still going to have to put your Feather into low power mode if you wanted to. But even if you don't, that will really save you if you have a ton of NeoPixels on your project and you want to like lower the power but still listen for button presses. You don't want to turn off the whole thing. You just want to turn off the high current speaker and NeoPixel output. So let me show
Demo?
my demo. We'll see if I can get my demo up and running. So you still want to power your project portably. So of course you use the Feather battery power supply. And then what's interesting here is I have the enable pins connected up to this toggle switch. So this is how you turn it on or off. So this is really nice because it's fully on off, but you don't have to splice any cables. And then you have this button. So I have just here a panel mount button, and this is going to be really bright. But so it's playing audio from the speaker, and it's got the NeoPixel, the gigantic 3-watt RGB LED. And then when I tap it, it changes the colors of the NeoPixels. This is just a demo showing, audio playback through the speaker, RGB LED, NeoPixel button switch, and then, of course, I want it to shut up and be quiet to turn off. So this is everything.
To use CircuitPython, you can make all those props you wanted to. And, just to be straight up, we looked around. There's a ton of expensive, complicated, bizarre, hard to use, cranky, here's how to make a prop. It's only $500. And, they're not open source. And so we just said, let's go in and, let's do a good job.
But I think this will make, this is not just for lightsabers, but we thought about lightsabers when building this. But I think there's a lot of other props that we've thought of since we designed this. That are what can we build with the prop maker wing? And it's low cost. I mean, it's pretty cheap, and you can add to any feather.
And with that, those new products.
Hey, yeah, all right. Wrong song. So I'm convinced. Let me go grab one right now, and then we'll take a look at it. Hang on. All right, there it is right there. Let me get it out of Lars's mouth here. Ugh. That's the product pick of the week this week. It is the Prop Maker FeatherWing. This thing is great. I love it. So, as Lady Ada mentioned, it does a few very specific things that will cover a whole lot of the types of props that you'll make if you're doing cosplay props, theater or stage props, any of the Star Wars lightsabery types of things, phasers, ray guns, if you're making props out of games, if you're making toys. A lot of good stuff in there. You have easy plug-in NeoPixels with the JST plug right there. You have those NeoPixels are being driven at 5-volt logic. So there's a level shifter, logic level shifter there. It has high current on that, so you can drive a whole lot of NeoPixels. We have that RGB analog PWM. It's actually PWM, not analog, but that RGB 3-watt LED connector, which you can use for other things. In fact, I'll show you using it for a laser instead of an LED. It has a little amp on there, a Class D amp, so you can plug speaker directly in, which is perfect. You don't want to add a whole bunch of boards to it. In fact, I'll show you in a little bit the difference when I went from my original build of the Lucio Blaster to my new 2020 version, which uses the prop makers. I reduced the number of boards a whole lot by using what was built on. What else? It's got the tap detection, which is really useful. In fact, I'll show you that's how Lars works. We can use tap detection on Lars to make him say stuff. And it also has accelerometer that you can use for essentially tilt detection types of things. I use that on the Lucio Blaster for reload just by pointing up, or using your ultimate by pointing down. What else? I'm probably forgetting a few other things. There's the very convenient additional button. It's called the switch on here. There is the low power mode, and there's also easily broken out enable pins. So what I'm going to do is actually drop down to this overhead view where I've set up a simple little demo. So here we have the prop maker is plugged into a Feather M4, and then I've got a strip of NeoPixels running right there. Oh, that was dramatic. I have a very tenuous jumper for turning that off rather than soldering a switch on there. So now it's on. You heard it did a nice big sound effect when it started up. It has I'm just using this little speaker here, which is nice and compact, and you can take off the adhesive from that and mount it to something as a soundboard, which is really effective. I'm powering this by battery right now, so it uses the Feather's battery charging LiPo circuit. And then I also, you can see here, I plugged in a switch. I actually used a little mechanical key switch and soldered to one of our little sockets there onto the sort of built-in switch output. So when that gets grounded, I'm using debounce to detect when I press that, and that'll turn my laser pointer here on and off. So it just flips the value there every other time you hit that. So you can see here, this is a nice little laser pointer I have there. I probably shouldn't point that at the camera. Why is it leaking? Huh. Something weird's going on in the workshop here. It's probably that. I hope I'm not. Let me know if you see that big hornet. Is that hornet trying to attack me again? I saw a yellow jacket or something, paper wasp in here the other day. I'm doomed. I shouldn't have angered Lars earlier. And that's about it. So then the other thing I'm doing on here is I'm using the tap detection. So every time I tap it, I am playing a sound effect as well as switching my NeoPixel colors to something random. And you can see here it responds really quickly, which is kind of cool. And in fact, you can imagine for some props, it might be easier to just use tap detection as a trigger rather than mounting a real trigger-like button or switch type of trigger. You could just kind of tap the thing, and if you have it laid out properly, then it'll feel that if you mount this sort of inside of your prop using the mounting holes. So let's see. What I'm going to do is pop over to the product page for this for a second. Let's have a look. Right here, if you scroll down, you'll see we have some of the info about it, as well as a link to some guides. And one of those guides linked in here is the main guide for the product. So if I click on that, that'll give you overview, tell you the pinouts. We click on this page here, tell you all the pins that you've got broken out there. Beyond, you can see there's a lot of unused pins. Those are just the normal feather pins that you could use for other things if you wanted to. And also, this is nice because if you mount it using the header, you then have that inside row that is still available for mounting other things. So you could solder to those another set of headers if you needed to, or right angle or something like that. And then there's code examples there for using sort of the basics. I put this demo together today, just pulling together a few of our little code snippet demos. So NeoPixel playing a WAV file and reading a button, and then I added a bouncer to that. And then I substituted the PWM code for just changing the value of that pin. I think I have pin 11 being used for my laser pointer. If you look at some of the guides that have been done with this, so first of all, we've got our good friend Lars, and some of you might not know that Lars actually has a prop maker right inside of him. I know he doesn't want you to know that, but so you can see I've got a little switch on his hand there. I'm going to click that, and that's going to turn on the board. There's a LiPo, a feather, and the prop maker. And now I'm using the tap detection, so when I touch his back here, he makes gross noises.
Oh, hello, CVT Joseph.
Okay, so each time we tap him there, we get a new little phrase from him. So I can turn that off, and then I have broken out the USB there to update it code-wise, as well as just to charge the LiPo. So that's an example of putting the prop maker inside of a friendly stuffed animal or toy. Lucio Blaster 2020, so this is, if we look at the circuit here, oh, actually, let me go back to the, oh yeah, there it is, there's a nice picture. So you can see here, I have my prop maker in here, and then I've got a feather, and then I think I have a little space on there for an extra amp, just because I have so many speakers running off of that. But otherwise, I'm able to just plug in NeoPixels to this, plug switches in, plug the enable into another switch, a couple of triggers. So all of that reduced down significantly the number of extra boards that I needed before. Here is the classic, of course, this lightsaber, or laser sword, as Disney, Lucas, Star Wars entities and lawyers would like us to call it. But that's a lightsaber made using the prop maker FeatherWing. And one of the nice things is that that's pretty small. Once you pair that using those low-profile feather headers, pair that to a feather, and then run a couple of your buttons off of there, it doesn't take up much space. In fact, there's even some batteries that'll fit between the two boards, some smaller batteries. And there's also a really cool, this Dark Saber, which also uses Prop Maker, and this one also has a BLE feather connected to it. Looking at a couple of questions that I see coming from the chat over on YouTube, John OS, does the FeatherWing work with the Feather RP2040? I almost did that this morning, but I don't know if, I'm not sure what the state is of the MP3 playback on it. I couldn't remember if we had that. I think it would work, and I think that works with wave output for sure, but I'm just not sure about what the MP3 state of things is. So if anyone knows in the Discord chat, please let me know. I would like to try that though. So I'll make an update on my workshop show on Thursday. I'll let you know because I've been wanting to check that out. Also, Mike Gibbons asks, what's the difference between the switch pin and the enable pin? So the enable pin on a Feather board is what powers it down. But rather than having to sort of splice in a beefy switch into the circuit of the battery or the USB, it is sort of a software power down. It just tells the thing to shut itself off. So in my case here, I'm just using a piece of jumper wire. And you can see here when I short the ground pin or the enable pin to ground, it just shuts it off. So you could attach any kind of switch or a clicky toggle switch. Oh, you can see there, I'm just sort of delicately touching those, and now it'll power back on. So enable pin is what you'll use as on-off. Switch pin is right here. Let me show this one closer. It's just a pair of pins broken out. They say switch and ground. And that is actually just, I believe, is that like D10? It might be digital pin 10. So it's just a conveniently broken out digital I/O pin that you will set as an input. You'll read it the way you read any normal button, and then it in your code, either Arduino code or CircuitPython code, you can just do whatever it is you want to do with it. Let's see. I'm seeing in the chat someone said the RP2040 MP3 playback does work, and Katney wrote a guide about it recently. Thanks, Katney. So yeah, I think it should work. The pin compatibility with Feather is very normal on the RP2040, so I think that's a good bet because this is a $10 board. You can get it today for half price if you check out over here on the product. Whoa! I just made my browser window go flying. Get back here. If you check this out during this show, this thing is half off, so it's $4.98 just during the show. Otherwise, it's still a very reasonable $10. And RP2040, I think, is a $12 Feather. So together, you've got a really inexpensive setup for doing prop-based stuff. What else? Other questions? Yeah, John O, you're welcome, and I will give it a try though. I just want to double check because I think that's a powerful combo. I'm using a Feather M4 right now for this just because I know that one works. It's tried and true. It's nice and powerful. Let's see. So let's take a look at the code for a second here. So let me jump over to Adam, and I'll show you what I'm doing. If I can find Adam. Hey, there you are. Okay, so import a bunch of libraries. Digital I/O, because I'm using some of those pins to write out to things like NeoPixels or read in this button press. Import the board for pin definitions, bus I/O, so we can talk to I2C stuff. Audio I/O, that's part along with audio core for how I'm playing back the wave files. NeoPixel, so I can light up these beautiful NeoPixels. List3DH is the tap detection and accelerometer chip that's on there, built right into the middle of the board, in fact, so that it's useful for pitch, yaw, roll type of readings. Random, just because I wanted to change the colors somewhat randomly between different kinds of pinks, blues, and reds. I'm leaving green out of it just because I wanted to keep it sort of constrained to some color palette. And then the debouncer, because that's useful for my little turning on my laser pointer here. There we go. So the next thing we do is we set up NeoPixels just like usual, and you can see here I'm using pin D5, and that's the pin that's broken out to this JST connector. So this is a strand of NeoPixels here, if you couldn't tell, that has a JST3 pin on the end of it. Then I'm setting up the laser, and the laser is, you can see, it's plugged into two of the pins of my what we call the sort of 3-watt LED, but this is really meant for any digital use. You'll just know that you have a plus pin and then essentially 3 ground pins, which are labeled red, green, and blue. And that's how those analog style, non-NeoPixel style LEDs work. The laser is being run on pin D11, which is what that red of these RGB, these 3 is. So you could also use 12 and 13 if you wanted. You could have 3 different lasers if you like. It'd be kind of cool to put your laser on a little servo with this one, little laser sighting. Next thing I'm doing is setting up my accelerometer and the tap detection so that it'll easily respond to getting tapped. Switch in, so this is digital D9, and that's just this broken out, sort of labeled pin D9 here. Setting that as a pull-up input as a debouncer item so that I can use the debouncer, and that means we just don't get a bunch of spurious reads. And then setting up audio on pin A0, which goes out to this nice little Class D amplifier, which is how I'm able to just very simply and easily plug in a speaker to that. And that'll use 4 ohm or 8 ohm speakers. Then I'm setting up a couple of wave files that I can play. When it first starts up, you'll hear it plays sort of a lightsaber startup sound. So if I turn this off, back on, and then the rest of them are this kind of hit sound. Then this is the main loop of the program. All I'm doing is really checking for 2 things. Has the accelerometer been tapped? If so, I change the colors of red and blue to some random value between 0 and 80. Whoops, touched the wrong thing. And play the hit wave. And then then the other thing we do is we check for switch updates. And if that switch gets updated, we just flip and flop the value of the pin that this little laser diode is plugged into. And that is it. That's the code. So let me know if you have any questions, but I'll remind you, if you want to go grab 1 or 10 or somewhere in between of these, I think we have a limit of 10 at this half price during the show. And that'll just be good during the time of this show, so go ahead and grab some and place an order. I know sometimes people have them sitting in their cart for like an hour and then they go back and the price doesn't work, so it is pretty tightly constrained to the show length here, so go grab some if you want. And I will, like I said, make a little update on my Thursday show about RP2040 usage, unless someone knows definitively. Okay, John O says that they ordered 5 of them and some Feather RP2040s anyway. All right, so you're paving the way. I think you'll find a use for those feathers one way or another, so I won't feel too bad about that. All right, I think that's going to do it for today. So that is the product pick of the week. It is the prop maker FeatherWing. And I'll go ahead and set that here on the board. Thank you all for stopping by. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park. Yeah, I'm John Park. And this has been JP's Product Pick of the Week. Goodbye.